Welcome in on episode 95 in the KIPS Podcast. My name is Tyler Valencia, and I'm the president of KIPS and Time to Train Fitness. Got a topic that really came out of nowhere. I was trying to think of an episode and what was something that every fitness pro has gone through if they've taught classes, or it could probably apply to if you're a personal trainer, and that's taking over an existing group fitness class. So a little background to this. About a week and a half ago, I was speaking at a conference in Nashville, Tennessee, and with one of my lectures, we start talking about tough topics and even situations where you're trying to implement new exercises. And one of the scenarios that got brought up was when you take over an existing class and they're saying, oh, well, XYZ or the X instructor did it this way, and this is how I want to do it. And that type of mindset in those situations. And I was thinking, oh, that's such a good one. Why have I not brought that up in a class before, in a lecture before, when trying to discuss these types of scenarios when you have an exercise that you know is good and you want to implement it. And that scenario popped up and I was like, oh, wow, that's a good one. And when I was making this outline for the KIPS podcast, I was thinking, okay, let's see what I can put together for a full episode for this. So we're going to be talking about those situations when you're taking over an existing group fitness class and some of those hard areas to address and to kind of move forward. How do you move forward with it? But as always, thank you for listening to the KIPS podcast. This podcast would not be where it is right now, getting pretty close to 100 episodes. And I think about 2 years, two and a half years. So thank you so much for listening, tuning in, sharing with fellow health and fitness professionals. When you get a chance, please leave us a review on your favorite podcasting platform, or if you are watching or listening on YouTube, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, as that is one of our favorite platforms to release content. Now, I'm going to try something new here. I'm going to call it a podcast question. And please, if you're listening, head over to social media or on YouTube and leave your response for it. So the podcast question is, what's the time you experienced this, talking about taking over a group fitness class, and how did you overcome it? I'm leaving it pretty general because these situations I feel like are great to share what you've been through. And I know that in some lectures, when you attend a conference, you don't want that person that's oversharing, but I think it's important in this scenario that you do overshare, because I'm sure that there's another fitness professional out there listening in that same spot that is thinking, oh man, this is so stressful. This is not what I thought it would be. Taking over this class, I thought this was a great opportunity for me. And it's just become such a nightmare with having to deal with some of the members. So what's the time you experienced this and how did you overcome it? Social media or on the YouTube channel. So with each of these topics that I'm going to go through, or sections I'm going to go through, I have a story that I'm going to share to kind of help guide the conversation on this. So with the first one, addressing the issue. Now, what I think about and how I incorrectly handled this, because I was a young entry-level fitness instructor, and the story I'm going to tell is when I was teaching my first class ever in group fitness. And this is what I had to go through. First class ever. So back when Tabata was not even as popular as, or wasn't even really a thing, I had created this 30-minute class called the Tabata method. And I was super excited. This was my shot to get into group fitness. I basically had to prove that I could lead a group, teach a class, and I wasn't even paid like a normal group exercise instructor. That's how things were back in, around 2010. Weren't even paying me like a regular group exercise instructor, giving me the floor rate. And with this class, I remember I show up to the first day and I announced the class and what's going to be. And, I asked friends that go to the gym, whether they're real friends or they're gym's friends, to come and support. And they did. And there was a couple that, and I'm pretty sure they were together. That's why I'm saying they're a couple that they were very upset with a previous instructor. I'm still in contact with this person, and unfortunately his class had gone downwards and there weren't that many participants coming, and that's why they offered it to me. And it was kind of the same situation, just get them out there, hopefully get them in front of people to, be able to converse with members kind of thing. And so I get up and I do my opening spiel, and this is when I'm just entering the industry. So relatively young, definitely not as polished. And I remember going through it, and this couple was very upset, and they essentially, I don't know if they asked where the instructor was, but I remember they actually went and wrote a negative review. They didn't take the class, but they went to the front desk, wrote a complaint, put it in the complaint box. I know because I went and read the complaint after. And what they were saying was how I don't know what I'm doing, yada, yada. They didn't even stay for the class, but were upset. And, they wanted to have it their way. And this gym was in one of those nicer areas. It was an upscale gym where you typically get paid pretty well for being a fitness instructor there. And so with this scenario, I'm using this as the springboard for addressing the issue, because I believe that looking back on it, I should have addressed it, that I will be taking over the class. I've apologized for any type of, experiencers, or not say that, but even say that you apologize for if anybody was under the impression that the other instructor wasn't going to be here and that you weren't communicated. I think that that's one of the big things that gym members often get mad is there's changes and they're not aware of them. And I know that in an ideal universe, you don't even have to tell them when changes are being made, but people feel entitled to this type of information when every single thing in a gym is trying to improve. And so address the issue, apologize, just to make them happy, and hopefully ask them to stay, and hopefully they enjoy the class. So addressing the issue, I believe that is one of the things where it's hard, where if you are a entry-level instructor and you're having to take blame for something that you had no part in, you are looking forward to, and you are pretty high on, but taking that high road, I think it shows professionalism. I think it shows that you are ready for the moment, because there are going to be those circumstances where people are not happy that you're there. And despite you having your friends there, your gym peeps there, there's going to be people there that are not happy, and you should address it because you might win them over. I think that that's one of the big pieces that you don't clearly see, is there is definitely a chance that you can win them over. And so that's my big one right there. I'd love to know what you think, if that's a good suggestion, or if you think you should go cold turkey and just say, well, no, it's my class. This is how it's going to be. I know that there's instructors out there that are like that, and I'm not saying that that's the wrong way. I'm just saying that there's different ways of going about it. So what do you think about that? If you're in the market for adjustable dumbbells or at-home workout equipment, check out Core Home Fitness at the link in the description. From adjustable dumbbells, multi-function benches, and all-in-one options, they got it all. I personally have their adjustable dumbbells and the glute drive that also works as a bench, and would recommend them to anyone building their home gym or looking for easy adjustable options. The dumbbells, they easily adjust from 5 pounds to 50 pounds just by turning the handle and lock in for your safety. Grab yourself a pair and see for yourself how easy they can fit into your fitness program. If you've been a fan of this podcast, you know that before end of each episode, you're going to hear a promotion for the Naboso Duo insoles. I've been using them for probably a year and a half, and I personally think they're game changers. I think everybody should get them, try them out, see what you think. And personally, I've talked about how I used to have foot pain just from sitting at a desk and then trying to be active, trying to go work out, and not really being able to fully maximize it. So I always try to throw it out there for individuals to just try them out, see what you think, utilize them in your day-to-day, and hopefully improve your overall activity level. That's the key right there, activity level. So check them out. There's a link in the description for the Naboso insoles. They have a variety of them to check out, different accessories. Check them all out. See what you think, and hopefully come back and let us know that they've really helped out with your activity level. Let's get back to the episode. So the next one here is building trust. So with building trust, that could say that could be a part of any type of fitness instruction, not just group exercise, personal training. There's parts where you have to build trust with the clients, with the members, so that they know that you know what you're doing and that they're willing to continually come because they believe that they're going to get a good workout. Do sometimes, I'm talking about times throughout the day, do they just automatically get people there? Yes, definitely. And I know that when I was last teaching group exercise, so from the time of this recording, probably 6 years ago, that I was teaching during a time where people just show up for it. There's no other class at this time, and it's and it's when they have to work out and they want to follow a workout that I think it was around 9 a.m. that they're going to come. They're just going to show up because that it's just that time for them. But what if they don't trust you and you do want to continue teaching this class? Where do you go from there? And with building trust, and this goes back to part of the original story, when you are trying to implement new exercises, it's hard. It's very hard. And the story I'm going to share here, and this kind of goes along with the type of lecture that I was, where this whole podcast episode sprung from, was that when I was teaching this class, I am a big fan of Viper Pro. If you don't know what those are, the joke that I always make is that it's the pieces of equipment that are in the corner of your gym collecting dust, and they look like a log press. And you might automatically picture what I'm talking about. But there's exercises with those pieces of equipment that I thoroughly enjoy, that I think are great, and I would try to implement them in a group exercise setting. And what would usually happen after I break it down, show what you're supposed to do with them, after trying to do the movement for a second or two, people would ultimately just go back to bicep curls or shoulder presses with them. Not joking with that. And so with these exercises, people, the second that they don't feel something, the second that they don't see the benefit of it, they're just going to go back to what they know. And with building trust, hopefully you get them to continually keep with it because you know that they're good exercises. And this is where it's hard to do in a group exercise setting because there's so many different populations. There's so many demographics that it's hard to have the ability to progress a class. I think that was one of the harder things for me when I was teaching group exercise, coming from being a personal trainer for X amount of years prior, that it was hard because you want to progress someone, you want to do a progressive overload, but people are just there to ultimately, the majority. And I'm not saying that there aren't situations where people can progress a class, but a lot of the times people are there just to get the hardest workout. And if it's not hard, then they're not happy. If they're not, their legs aren't shaking, and they don't think it's a good workout. But with building trust, sometimes it is giving them some of those opportunities to do some of those exercises. And it's maybe over programming in some circumstances, because then they say, oh, they do care about my health. And it's almost like a Miyagi situation where you're kind of going along with it and giving them that opportunity to do some of those exercises and I'm kind of bleeding into the next one here and jumping ahead here, but you're giving them that ability to, in their mind, get that hard workout while you give them some of the other side of it. And I think building trust with a group, I think it comes from building that community bond with them, that letting them know a little bit about yourself. I think that this is where showing your personality, I think, is important, so that they know that you're just not that person that shows up, that just reads off a paper and, okay, just go and do your thing kind of dealio. That you got to be able to show them who you are, why are they showing up, more than the workout. And I think that is part of the evolution of a fitness instructor, is that you go through those phases and you start to see, okay, I can be myself. I can be able to let people in this setting, in this work setting, because ultimately it does help them connect with me. Now, I'm going to get into the next one here with the give and take, because I think that is ultimately what a part of this is sometimes you have to give exercises so that they can, again, build trust, but that they get in their mind, and then you can give and take. You got to take away some of those exercises you don't believe are that great and replace them at the same time. And the story I'm going to share with this one was that this class that I used to teach was there's a different class, but it was called, it was like a running class, treadmill class. So I forgot what it was called. But essentially it was a 30-minute class, and it's supposed to be treadmill and weights. And the participants in this class, they just wanted social hour or social half hour. And I'm not kidding with that. They were a little upset when I wanted for them to do some actual exercises. And with this class, they just thought that they can put the treadmill on whatever pace that they want, and then just get 30 minutes to have the quote unquote the best treadmills in the gym that stared off into the mountains, and that's why they wanted them. And they didn't. Previous instructors allowed them to do that, and they got paid, and that's how it went. And when I first took it over, one of the first things that I tried just to kind of get them, just to shake them up a bit, something very basic, was that I had them do some warm-ups. I had them do some dynamic warm-ups, and it was right in front of other participants. And I know that they weren't happy at first, but the way that I framed it was that it's going to make their treadmill walking a little bit better. So they did it. And then I did have them do some weights with that, but started slow, built it up. And after a few sessions, because people saw this, people notice in the gym when things are changing. And in this situation, more people wanted to be a part of the class. And then that's when I was able to take away some of the stuff that was built in, and give them more of what you believe is part of a good workout. And so in this scenario, I think that it's one of those things where I shocked the system a little bit, but not too much. I didn't just overbear them with, okay, we're not doing this way anymore. We're going to only do the way that I think that we should do this class. I switched it up a little bit, but slowly. And that's part of the give and take, I think, of being an instructor and taking over a new class, because you do have to give them some of those pieces. And then sometimes it might be communicating with maybe a member in the class that you trust, that's going to share some exercises that people liked, or the pieces that they thought were good. And that type of insight can help you make that process more seamless. So the last piece here that I'm going to talk about is implementing the exercises that had been planned. So when you come to a new class, or that you plan for, you have your class plan, you have your session planned out, whether it's one that's choreographed or one that maybe you're doing some type of strength class. It's one of those things where you are planning to implement it, but things come up, and now you have to shift. And that part of the adaptability, I think, is part of being a fitness instructor, being a fitness pro. The ability to shift and adapt to the circumstances is part of the job, in my opinion. Sometimes equipment's not there. Sometimes the equipment that you had in your mind isn't there. And that all comes with experience. But getting to the exercise that you want to implement and that you had planned for, that might take some time. So patience might be the key for that. I don't have a story for this one. It's more of just some suggestions based off of times that I have been a group exercise instructor, and the ability to adapt, to go back to your well of knowledge, your well of exercises, and dig something up, pull something up and throw it in there. Sometimes that happens. And sometimes you just got to go with it. You got to roll with the punches and just bring the energy to make it a better circumstance. So that has been it for this class. It's not really a do X, Y, and Z. It's more of an open conversation. Like I said, there is a podcast question that if you have any insight, social media or the YouTube channel would be great to share a situation where you've gone through this. and share, and hopefully other fitness pros can chime in and we can help each other. That's always the goal of my podcast episodes and lectures, is how can we help each other grow within this industry. Thank you as always for listening to the KIPS Podcast. Again, my name is Tyler Valencia, president of KIPS and Time to Train Fitness, and I'll catch you in the next one.